Fertile ground for radical ideologies. This chapter explores the socio-political environment that allowed radical ideologies to take root, setting the stage for the rise of extremist movements. Understanding the context of Hitler's writing. This chapter delves into the historical and personal context in which Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, providing insights into his motivations and the impact of his early experiences. Central to Hitler's ideology was the concept of the Aryan race, a mythical master race he believed to be the pinnacle of human evolution. In Mein Kampf, he paints a romanticized picture of the Aryans as the original creators of civilization, responsible for all great art, culture, and technological advancements. He contrasted this imagined Aryan ideal with the Jews, whom he portrayed as the embodiment of cultural and racial degeneracy. Hitler's depiction of the Aryans was a dangerous fabrication, a distortion of history and anthropology designed to serve his own twisted agenda. He attributed to them a mythical past, claiming they were responsible for the glories of ancient Greece and Rome, ignoring the contributions of other cultures and civilizations. This manufactured history was crucial to his narrative, providing a pseudo-scientific justification for his belief in Aryan supremacy. This fabricated Aryan identity served as a powerful tool of manipulation. By appealing to a sense of shared heritage and a glorious past, Hitler sought to unite the German people under a single banner. He promised to restore Germany to its rightful place as a dominant world power led by the Aryan master race. This message, fueled by nationalistic fervor and a yearning for past glory, resonated with a population still reeling from the humiliation of defeat in World War I. However, Hitler's vision of Aryan supremacy went beyond mere national pride. He envisioned a future where the Aryan race would rule the world, subjugating or eliminating those he deemed racially inferior. This chilling vision, rooted in racial hatred and a warped sense of destiny, laid the foundation for the horrors of the Holocaust and the atrocities committed in the name of Nazi ideology. Hitler's ambitions extended far beyond the borders of Germany. Central to his ideology was the concept of Lebensraum, or living space, a belief that Germany, with its growing population, needed to expand eastward into the lands of Slavic peoples. He argued that these lands, rich in resources and sparsely populated, were rightfully German and essential for the nation's survival and dominance. This expansionist ideology was fueled by a potent mix of nationalism, racial superiority, and economic self-interest. Hitler believed that the German people, as members of the Aryan master race, were entitled to these lands, while he dismissed the Slavic populations as racially inferior and ripe for subjugation or elimination. He argued that acquiring these territories would provide Germany with the resources and space it needed to become a global superpower. This expansionist drive was not merely a theoretical concept. It formed a cornerstone of Nazi foreign policy. Hitler's annexation of Austria and Czechoslovakia, as well as the invasion of Poland, were all driven by this insatiable desire for Lebensraum. He envisioned a vast German empire stretching across Eastern Europe, a vision that would plunge the world into the deadliest conflict in human history. The concept of Lebensraum highlights the inherent dangers of Hitler's ideology. It was an ideology that glorified conquest and subjugation, fueled by a toxic combination of racial hatred, nationalistic fervor, and a warped sense of destiny. It serves as a chilling reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked ambition and the importance of safeguarding against ideologies that promote violence and oppression. A slow burn to infamy. Mein Kampf's initial reception. Contrary to popular belief, the publication of Mein Kampf in 1925 and 1926, the two volumes were released separately, didn't immediately catapult Adolf Hitler to fame or notoriety. The book was initially met with a muted response, garnering lukewarm sales and failing to capture widespread attention. The reasons for this initial lack of impact are multifaceted. Firstly, Germany in the mid-1920s was experiencing a period of relative stability and economic recovery. The hyperinflation crisis had subsided, and the Weimar Republic, though still fragile, offered a glimmer of hope. In this climate, Hitler's extremist views, steeped in resentment and anger, failed to resonate with a population eager to move on from the turmoil of the past. Secondly, Mein Kampf itself, with its rambling prose, convoluted arguments, and often repetitive diatribes, proved to be a difficult and unengaging read for many. Even those sympathetic to nationalist sentiments found its sheer volume and vitriol overwhelming. The book lacked the literary merit or intellectual rigor to attract a wide readership beyond the already converted. Lastly, the Nazi Party itself was still a fringe movement in the mid-1920s, viewed by many as a group of extremist thugs with little chance of achieving real power. Hitler, though gaining notoriety for his fiery speeches, was still considered a political outsider, his ideas dismissed by the mainstream as dangerous but ultimately inconsequential. The relative obscurity of Mein Kampf in its early years doesn't diminish its significance. The book served as a crucial ideological foundation for the Nazi Party, outlining Hitler's warped worldview and providing a blueprint for the horrors to come. As the Nazi Party gained prominence throughout the 1920s and 1930s, so too did the reach and influence of Hitler's dangerous ideas. The Great Depression, which struck Germany with devastating force in 1929, proved to be a turning point for both the Nazi Party and the reception of Mein Kampf. As unemployment soared and economic hardship became widespread, Hitler's message of national revival, rooted in scapegoating and promises of restoring Germany to its former glory, resonated with increasing force. The Nazi Party, with its paramilitary wing, the SA, capitalized on the growing social unrest, using violence and intimidation to silence opponents and create a climate of fear. They skillfully exploited the economic anxieties of the masses, blaming the Jews, communists, and the Weimar Republic for Germany's woes. In this environment of fear and uncertainty, Hitler's message, amplified through mass rallies, propaganda, and the increasing availability of Mein Kampf, found fertile ground. The book, once ignored, became a must-read for party members, a guidebook for understanding the Führer's vision and a tool for spreading Nazi ideology. Its sales soared, fueled by a combination of growing party membership, state-sponsored distribution, and a morbid curiosity among a population increasingly drawn to the allure of Hitler's promises. The year 1933 marked a turning point in German history. With the Nazi Party's ascension to power, Mein Kampf transitioned from a fringe manifesto to a state-sanctioned text, its hateful ideology woven into the very fabric of German society. The book became a cornerstone of the Nazi education system, used to indoctrinate children with racist ideology and a warped view of history. While Mein Kampf initially gained traction primarily within Germany, its growing notoriety and the increasingly belligerent actions of the Nazi regime soon attracted international attention. Translations of Mein Kampf began appearing in various languages, providing a chilling glimpse into the mind of the man who now held the reins of power in Germany. The book fueled a growing sense of unease about Hitler's intentions, particularly his territorial ambitions and his open hostility towards neighboring countries. In the aftermath of World War II and the horrors of the Holocaust, Mein Kampf took on a new and unsettling significance. Some argue for its complete suppression, fearing that its availability could fuel neo-Nazi sentiment and incite violence. Others contend that banning the book amounts to censorship and that it should be studied as a historical document, a cautionary tale about the dangers of totalitarian ideology. A Dangerous Legacy: The Post-War Debate on Censorship and Mein Kampf. The defeat of Nazi Germany in 1945 brought an end to the most devastating war in human history, but it also ignited a complex and enduring debate about how to deal with the legacy of the Nazi regime. At the heart of this debate was the question of Mein Kampf. Should this book, so central to the Nazi ideology and its horrific crimes, be banned outright, or should it be allowed to remain accessible, albeit within a carefully considered framework? The Bavarian Copyright, a legal battleground for free speech and historical responsibility. The Bavarian government, acutely aware of the book's potential to incite hatred and violence, adopted a policy of strictly enforcing its copyright, effectively banning any unauthorized publication or distribution of Mein Kampf within Germany. This stance, while understandable, placed Bavaria in a complex legal and ethical position. Academic study versus public consumption, navigating the dilemma of access and interpretation. The expiration of the Bavarian copyright reignited the debate about Mein Kampf, this time focusing on the distinction between academic study and public consumption. Scholars argued that studying Mein Kampf, despite its abhorrent content, was essential for understanding the historical context of the Holocaust and the dangers of totalitarian regimes. Section 4. Mein Kampf in the Digital Age: The Challenge of Controlling Hate Speech Online. The advent of the Internet and the proliferation of digital platforms presented both challenges and opportunities regarding the control and dissemination of Mein Kampf. The ease with which Mein Kampf could be uploaded, downloaded, and shared online raised concerns about its potential to reach a wider audience, including those who might be susceptible to its hateful ideology. Section 5. Confronting the past, informing the present, the ongoing relevance of understanding Mein Kampf. Mein Kampf serves as a chilling reminder of the power of words to incite hatred, to justify violence, and to shape the course of history. Understanding the historical context of the book, the factors that led to its creation and dissemination, and the ways in which its hateful ideology took root and flourished is crucial to preventing similar tragedies from occurring in the future. The Uncomfortable Afterlife: Mein Kampf in the 21st Century. Decades after the fall of the Third Reich, Mein Kampf continues to cast a long shadow over the world. The digital age, with its promise of interconnectedness and open access to information, has presented both challenges and opportunities in grappling with the legacy of Mein Kampf. While Mein Kampf may be a product of a specific time and place, the hateful ideology it espouses remains a persistent threat in the 21st century. The themes of nationalism, racism, xenophobia, and anti-Semitism that permeate Hitler's writings continue to find expression in various forms of extremism, hate speech, and violence around the world. From the rise of far-right political parties in Europe and North America, to the resurgence of white supremacist groups, from the targeting of religious minorities to the proliferation of hate speech online, the echoes of Hitler's ideology are impossible to ignore. The language may have evolved, the targets may have shifted, but the underlying message of hatred, intolerance, and the dehumanization of the other remains chillingly familiar. The persistence of these hateful ideologies underscores the need for constant vigilance, for proactive measures to combat prejudice and discrimination in all its forms. It highlights the importance of education, of promoting critical thinking skills, of fostering empathy and understanding across cultural and religious divides. It is a reminder that the fight against hate is not a battle that can be won once and for all, but an ongoing struggle that requires unwavering commitment and collective action. The legacy of Mein Kampf is a stark reminder that the past is never truly behind us. The ideologies it represents, while defeated on the battlefield, continue to lurk in the shadows of society, waiting for an opportunity to re-emerge. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that they never again find fertile ground to take root and flourish. Education as antidote. The importance of critical engagement with history. In an era marked by misinformation, historical revisionism, and the rise of extremist ideologies online, education emerges as a crucial bulwark against the enduring threat of hatred and intolerance. Engaging critically with history, particularly with difficult and uncomfortable chapters like the Holocaust and the rise of Nazi Germany, is essential for understanding the roots of prejudice, the dangers of unchecked power, and the importance of safeguarding democratic values. Teaching about Mein Kampf in educational settings presents unique challenges and opportunities. It requires a nuanced approach, one that balances the need to expose students to the realities of Nazi ideology with the imperative to prevent its normalization or glorification. It demands careful contextualization, critical analysis, and the presentation of counter-narratives that challenge Hitler's hateful worldview. Educators have a responsibility to guide students through this difficult terrain, to equip them with the critical thinking skills necessary to deconstruct propaganda, to recognize bias, and to evaluate information from multiple perspectives. They must foster an environment of open dialogue and respectful debate, encouraging students to grapple with complex ethical questions and to develop their own informed opinions. Beyond the classroom, museums, memorials, and other institutions dedicated to Holocaust remembrance and education play a vital role in preserving the memory of the victims, documenting the atrocities committed by the Nazi regime, and educating future generations about the dangers of hatred and intolerance. These institutions provide valuable resources for understanding the historical context of Mein Kampf, the factors that led to its creation and dissemination, and the devastating consequences of its ideology. Safeguarding the future, a collective responsibility to combat intolerance and promote understanding. The enduring legacy of Mein Kampf serves as a stark reminder that the fight against hatred and intolerance is not a battle that can be fought and won in the past. It is an ongoing struggle, a collective responsibility that demands unwavering commitment and proactive measures to combat prejudice, discrimination, and violence in all its forms. Creating a more just and equitable world requires a multi-pronged approach that addresses the root causes of hatred and intolerance. It necessitates promoting education that fosters critical thinking, empathy, and intercultural understanding. It demands challenging discrimination and prejudice whenever and wherever it arises, whether in our communities, workplaces, or online spaces. It requires supporting organizations working to combat hate speech, promote tolerance, and advocate for the rights of marginalized communities. It means engaging in constructive dialogue, building bridges of understanding, and challenging our own biases and prejudices. The legacy of Mein Kampf is not one of inevitability, but of caution. It is a reminder of the fragility of peace, the seductive power of hateful ideologies, and the devastating consequences of indifference in the face of injustice. It is a call to action, an imperative to learn from the mistakes of the past and to work tirelessly to create a future where the horrors of the Holocaust are are never repeated. By embracing our shared humanity, by celebrating diversity, by promoting understanding, and by actively combating hatred and intolerance in all its forms, we can honor the memory of the victims of Nazi persecution and help create a world where such atrocities are consigned to the history books, never to be repeated.